2 or 3 or 4 employees get access to capital sufficient to stay in business or to generate greater business activity. That's the whole notion behind it. Don, if you want to add to that, please do.
And Mr. Elman, welcome to the Joint Budget Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Senator White and committee. The honest answer to your question, Senator White, is that we're working on that right now. It would be our intention to come back to the committee and to the legislature with a far more fully found description of use of funds prior to the beginning of the legislative session. What we've done is taken a piece of the $4.9 million pot that exists and said we need a few weeks to try and figure out what the highest and best use of that money is. I think we would also like the flexibility to say that if it turns out that addressing the access to capital situation is not in fact the highest and best use of that money, that we would put it either into increasing the Colorado First Job Training Program or into some other form of job creation incentive. I mean, we've now met twice with a consortium that includes the SBA and the Colorado Bankers Association and Colorado Enterprise Fund, and we're trying to work through a plan that involves not only education, which is a major piece of it, but also to figure out whether there is a way to leverage our money to make the actual market perform more efficiently for small companies. We don't have the answer to that question right now. We know, conversely, that it's not to add $2 million to a loan pool somewhere. That doesn't touch enough people. It doesn't get the job done. So what we're asking for is your patience to be able to come back to you before the legislative session with a more definitive plan on how we spend that money.
Senator White, did you want to continue? Did you want to continue?
I'm patient.
Representative Rostiger.
Go ahead.
Senator Ted.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Governor. Good to have you here. And
Senator.
I really like the plan that you laid out. I think it's very thoughtful. I think it would put a lot of energy into it. The one that does seem to bother me is trying to get into the economic development and the investment into the market. I believe that government is responsible for safety and welfare of Coloradoans. So when you talk about bridge repairs and highway repairs and education and training and even this new market of renewable, which is a niche that you created and that is really needing in this state, is really valuable. The 4.9 to 2.5, it has that whole sense of the U.S. bailout type of a situation that we're dealing with in the United States government, and they're trying to bail out the banking industry and the loaning industry, and with that you have winners and losers. And I don't know how you define these winners and losers. For $2.5 million, I'm not sure, that's like one company possibly, or it could be 20 companies, or it could be 200 companies. But I just can't imagine that with our limited resources, in particular this year when we're freezing certain things in state government, that it's prudent. And I think you did say that. You just want to move in that direction and come up with a definitive plan. Well, right now that scares me, because I think we have bridges that are falling apart, we have roads that need to be repaired, we have people on the disability list or developmentally disabled that aren't there. There's a lot of things in our state that we need that we're not getting to. I understand we need to move our economy. I'm not sure it's state government's role to do that.
Madam Chair. Thanks, Senator. With all due respect, what I would say is in order for us to live through this downturn and emerge from it, we should, as a state, focus on job creation. We should absolutely focus on job creation. It's what drives revenue that we utilize to do all the other things that you talked about, states being responsible for. If you think just the case of Pueblo, Colorado, and think of that announcement that we were able to make, well, that's why it's close to home for you, Senator. You know, think Pueblo, Colorado, that Vestas announcement, it's 500 jobs, it's a little under $300 million investment. It's the largest wind tower manufacturing company in the world. Vestas coming in there partnered with the Pueblo Community College to ensure that there was a focus on creating the workforce necessary to work in that plant. And they did that with an educational institution. Part of that access to capital money, part of that economic development money is focusing on community colleges and partnering in ensuring that we are meeting workforce demand. So it's not just thinking about job creation in the way of incentives or revolving loans. It's thinking about it very broadly and how we ensure that when a company is looking at Colorado, one of the reasons they decide to move here is because we have an educated workforce or because we're doing the job in educating them. And that's why I think we focus on job creation. The other part of it, I would say, is that this is a small amount of money, but we've been able to really make an impact with a small amount of money. If you think, again, the new energy economy, we've gone up against states that are committing far bigger amounts of money in terms of cash incentives, but we've been able to make our case as a state where we have a hub. And some of that has been because we have a governor's energy office that's focused on it, that we put together a clean energy fund. It was not a lot of money at the time, but that money has been well leveraged to attract a whole host of different kinds of people from the manufacturing end, the production end, the research and development end, and it's a great use of money if you think about the jobs that have flowed to the state and in part what's buffering us against the downturn.
Senator White?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Governor Don Todd, as you flesh out this access to credit concept, you may be doing it, but I would urge you, if you're not, to include the independent banks. You mentioned CBA, but many of the smaller banks in rural Colorado could greatly benefit from this concept as well. So I hope you keep them in mind as you go forward.
That absolutely is our intention. And let me assure Senator Tapia, this is not TARP. We're not talking about trying to bail out a bunch of banks. And if we can't touch a far greater universe than 150 or 200 companies, then we shouldn't spend a dime of that money in that behalf. And all I would ask is that we have the flexibility to come back to you. That $4.9 million has to go toward efforts that will absolutely increase job or create jobs in the state of Colorado in the near term. And if we don't think, if we come to the conclusion that we don't need that money in access to capital, we would respectfully ask to put it either into the Clean Energy Fund or into a job training.
Representative Palmer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. What the governor just said, I agree with